Well, to the few of you that probably still cared, I gotta start, singing the funeral dirge or playing the funeral dirge, whatever. Another article from Polygon. Michael Warder, E3 2023 has been canceled. Now, there we go. E3,
No!
yeah, right.
Who could have
E3,
guessed?
not us, not us on this podcast here. We didn't know this was possibly coming at all. But E3 2023 has been cancelled. Organizers at the Entertainment Software Association announced Thursday, following the reported withdrawal of major publishers like Ubisoft, Sega, and Tencent. Those companies joined console manufacturers Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony, who had previously confirmed they wouldn't take part in this year's E3, an event that promised to return the spectacled gaming industry show to Los Angeles for the first time in 4 years. Quote, "This was a difficult decision because of all the effort we and partners put toward making this event happen, but we had to do what's right for the industry and what's right for E3, said Kyle Martson-Kish, Global VP of Gaming at ReedPop, in a news release. Quote, "We appreciate and understand that interested companies wouldn't have playable demos ready and that resourcing challenges made being at E3 this summer an obstacle they couldn't overcome. For those who did commit to E3 2023, we're sorry we can't put on the showcase you deserve and that you've come to expect from ReedPop's event experiences." End quote. ReedPop and the ESA said they will, quote, "continue to work together on future E3 events." IGN reported Thursday that a handful of major publishers had backed out of the event, with others casting doubt on their participation in the show. On Thursday, IGN reported that E3 organizers reportedly told members that E3 2023, quote, "simply did not garner the sustained interest necessary to execute it in a way that would showcase the size, strength, and impact of our industry," end quote. This year's E3 was announced as a return to the LA Convention Center for the show's first in-person event since 2019. The ESA had enlisted ReedPop, the company that produces PAX, Star Wars Celebration, and other fan-focused events, to run E3 2023. The plan was to combine a gathering of publishers, developers, media, and buyers with, quote, "in-person consumer components and digital showcases." When it was announced in July 2022, ReedPop promised that E3 2023 will be recognizably epic, a return to form that honors what's always worked while reshaping what didn't. A competing event that Jeff Keighley produced, Summer Game Fest, will serve as an alternative for game publishers and developers to showcase their wares in June. Microsoft and Ubisoft will have digital events of their own that month, aligned with the dates for Summer Games Fest, which runs through June 8th to 10th, and the now canceled E3, which was scheduled to run June 11th to the 16th. The cancellation of E3 2023, the third scrapped version of the event in recent years, is another distressing indicator of the health of the expo and the industry's valuation of it. After E3 2019...
Yeah. And then I'm going to cut you there because the rest of it's fine. I know, we're right there at the end.
Tavin, I won't stutter again. Please don't hurt me.
No, that wasn't it. You did great, Connor. You were doing fine. I promise you're in your own head more than we notice it. So yeah, E3's been canceled. This is the second year in a row and the third time that it's happened in the last couple of years. And I mean, we talked about it last week when reports of Ubisoft dropping out were happening, and then in between that and this week, we were also getting reports that major publishers such as Tencent weren't going to make the show and so forth. And it just seemed that everything that we were saying has become kind of true, where a lot of these publishers are using their own platforms now, so they don't really need a big event like E3. They can set up play testing dates on their own time and their own dollar, and it costs them a lot less. It's just a lot cheaper to produce an online show, edit it, put it up, and then have it be on your own time when you want. Now, there is something to having big news drops in the summer, which I think has been Jeff Keighley's kind of benefit here, to his advantage, where he kind of saw the tea leaves and left E3 a few years ago to start building Summer Games Fest, and he built it more as just sort of a season of things that are happening as opposed to a singular event. He does have his his Summer Games Fest like opening night live and all that great stuff and great presentations, where big games get announced on the stage and so forth, and he brings developers out and so forth. But other than that, he just kind of tags these publishers and goes, "Hey, I know you're doing your thing. Do you want to do it in association with this so that, you can be on our calendar and we can sort of advertise it for you and so forth?" So yeah, it's really been a very interesting back and forth with all of this. As for E3 itself, man, I mean, that's unfortunate. feelings about the event itself aside, there were people who work on this show and they work on it really hard to get it working, and for it to just continue to just not happen really hurts. And it's going to be hard for E3 to come back from this. I don't know if they can. If they do, it's going to be a much, much smaller thing where if it were me, I would start picking up indies. I would be on the real small scale thing of stuff that's happening, and take a lot of notes from Jeff Keighley, man, because he's kind of got the juice right now. He knows how the industry is evolving, and he's got his finger on the pulse of what needs to happen next. And the way he's making it work out, I think, has been quite commendable. There's been, missteps along the way, and there's been, critiques that you can level at his productions, but for the most part, he puts on entertaining shows where you get to see a lot of different games, and he does it in a way to where it does feel like everything kind of gets a second to breathe, and you get great moments like last year's Xbox showcase, and not just a mess of news where publishers are fighting for air and a lot of smaller games get lost in the shuffle. It's unfortunate, but E3 is a product of a bygone era that I just don't think is effective anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a fair estimate of them, because I remember I would always go to Virginia for family vacations in the summer when E3 would usually take place. So a lot of the times I couldn't watch E3 in its entirety normally like I would at home. Sometimes I was also able to do that. And I would always get so hyped at these, like, the swaths of game they would introduce in their showcases, have their showcases packed full of interesting, fun things. But after a couple of years, it kind of started to not have that effect on me anymore. And I was like, okay, every now and then I would get super hyped when they showed some game. Well, I can't even remember some of the ones that were announced at past E3s, but it just, that same allure of E3 just kind of went away farther and farther as the show just kind of became, I guess repetitive is the good word for it, but more importantly because we had so many other avenues like social media that started dropping all these, big reveals, and by the time E3 rolled around, even though there was some good stuff there, a lot of it was just kind of, you'd sit and wait for it to go by when they would do the presentations. And it's, as you said, it's a relic of a bygone era, which seems to be disappearing. And yeah, that's a good idea of what you said, to start focusing on smaller games, to start focusing on indie ones. Because I really do think there's a good market for that. But ultimately, these big showcases, they're not in the running anymore. They're not the big boys on the block. So, unfortunately, this is kind of where E3 was inevitably headed, if you've been paying attention to it for the past couple of years. But it's sad to see it finally kind of have the final nail in the coffin of E3 as we know it. I do hope it continues in some way, because obviously the people who did E3 always put their hearts into it. They did a good job. Mm-hmm. They were able to create some really nice memories of me sitting in front of the TV and be like, oh my god, that's so cool. Dark Souls, a new Dark Souls game? Radical. But not anymore. So I hope they're going to continue in some form or fashion and not completely go away.
Yeah, but like, also some of that I just feel is just kind of like some nostalgia talk.
Possibly.
Where it's like, do we really need this? And you have to think of, like, I think back of all of the old E3 flubs or flops or cringy, awkward moments. And I think today, in the era of social media, in the era of everybody's getting all the information all the time, eyes are on you all the time, it hurts when those things happen now. Like, it hurts a lot more than it did even 10 years ago.
Like cringy moments?
So, yeah, like the cringy moments, or when when a teleprompter breaks down and a presenter doesn't know where to go next or whatever, and he's just dying on stage. I saw a moment from, I think it was like 2017 E3 or something, where they brought some influencer, some YouTuber out at the EA show, and his teleprompter didn't work, and he was just kind of sitting there waiting for his next cue and didn't know where to go, and it was awkward. Moments like that. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. That was the guy from the prank YouTube channel, wasn't it?
I think the guy with the short
hair. Yeah, I remember that.
It was the Need for Speed segment that came up on my timeline this week. Yeah, and it's like, these big publishers don't want moments like that. Like, and on the internet, these moments live in perpetuity. Like, they're forever. So it's just like, I think they would all just much rather produce their own thing, have it heavily polished, heavily edited, and cut out all of the awkward flubs or when somebody misspeaks or when technology doesn't work. Think of back to the Nintendo Wii era and all of the Legend of Zelda moments that didn't work for Skyward Sword, or all of the animal pet games that were awkward or whatever, and all the Kinect moments that didn't work on the Xbox stages and so forth. Like, all of these publishers would just rather not do that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
So
But those
yeah,
things
I mean,
admittedly made it more fun.
they
I would
they
say.
did, but these are shows to sell products. These are shows to show a stockholder that they've got the hatches battened down and they're ready to go. And so moments like that hurt them. And just having a show like this in today's era just doesn't make any sense. And like, let's think about it, Connor. If you and I were on a level of an IGN or Kind of Funny or something like that, and we could put on a little showcase for indie games, I wouldn't want it to be a live show. I wouldn't want it to be, all right, let's bring these people out now and have them talk to us. I would want it to be like a 45-minute, heavily edited, keep the pace up, keep the flow going presentation in which it's scripted out and stuff. There's no need for live anything because that's terrifying, especially when you have a set amount of information that you want to get out to the people. So it doesn't surprise me that a show like this has seemingly met its end. I really don't see how E3 can come back from this in any meaningful way. I think the narrative is too far gone. I mean, we've been talking about the death of E3 for years now. It feels like this is the fifth time in this show's very short run of just a couple of years that I've put, oh, E3's dead in the title. Like, I've done that at least 3 times, and I don't want to keep doing it because at some point it's like, how many E3 deads can there be? And I mean, I really don't see how they can come back from this, but I hope, something happens out of this. I hope it's not just a gone thing, because, even though I mention all of the cringy moments or the technical malfunctions, like, the E3 has brought a lot of joy and a lot of exciting moments. I remember, PlayStation's 2016 E3 showcase was fucking mind-blowing and put us on another level, and I think is one of the key things that put us on the track that we're on today. So it's just it's a number of things.
Well, maybe we won't be talking about them dying anymore after this, because they'll either be dead or be in
They'll be dead.
or in a better position to where they're not.
Or in a better position. Let's hope.